outbreak of pneumonia in the Netherlands, coupled with the emergence of respiratory illnesses in China, India, the UK, not to mention several other countries. It's cause for heightened concern due to its potential to severely and significantly impact the housing market in very expensive areas such as New York, California, Seattle, Nevada, and Florida, just to name a few. In fact, the outbreak remains undiagnosed, and the spread of respiratory illness across multiple countries, it suggests a level of uncertainty regarding the nature and the severity of the underlying health issue. Now, we've seen something like this very similar not that long ago, guys. Let's not forget. In fact, this uncertainty, it can literally create fear and anxiety among the general population, the general public, and this is not a good sign. This could potentially influence the decisions related to housing. In fact, it could also influence government responses, more importantly. We've seen the government respond in different ways. Blue states, how they handle things, red states, how they handle things. You guys remember that, right? Some states were more lenient, other states were a little bit more, how do I say, stringent. Vaccine passports, mandates that were implemented in certain areas versus others. In fact, the government responses to some of these different outbreaks can vary quite drastically. If strict measures are put in place, including lockdowns or restrictions on movement, it could literally affect people's decisions on what they can do. It can affect people's decisions on buying or selling a home. Do you want to be in an environment like that? Is it now time to get out before it's too late? These are questions that I'm reading and seeing a lot of you guys ask in the comment section. By the way, we've got already, wow, barely 2 minutes in, 169 people in the live. If you guys could just drop a quick like for the video, if we can get the likes up to 150, that would be amazing. If you guys really appreciate the updates, feel free to consider subscribing to the channel as well. I totally appreciate it, guys. So yeah, I mean, and it's not just this new mystery virus either. In fact, there's several key C19 trends that authorities are now tracking. We're talking about the CDC, guys. They're now accelerating around the country. In fact, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, announced this just a few hours ago. And it's the first major nationwide uptick in the spread of this particular virus seen in months. Now, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but it's rather interesting how this mysterious virus just came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing this uptick in C19 viruses being reported according to the CDC. And, again, kind of like deja vu, 4 years ago, we played this same song and it's getting a little old. I'm just saying. Now, the largest increases are in the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic, according to the agency. Although, virtually all regions of the country are now seeing accelerations, which is not a good sign. If you have kids in school, I hope you guys are taking precautions. If you're not a remote worker and you have to go in the office, I hope you guys are taking precautions. It's a little bit concerning, and I'm just kind of putting it out there. By the way, where are you guys watching from? If you could just kind of drop me a comment, let me know like what city or state you guys are in, and let me know what you guys are seeing out there. Are you seeing any kind of upticks where you live? I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm gonna do my best to keep an eye on the comments, and and I see comments from D Brown, Patrice Burgeon, Price Jones, Young O, William Demorsky, Ross Smalling, Nathaniel Whitehead from Wisconsin, Michigan. We got Kingdom City, Indiana. We got the Philippines in the house. We got Young O from NYC, New York. We've got Patrice Burgeon from Connecticut. We got Greene County, Mississippi, D Brown. Economic Stalker from Rome, Georgia. Awesome, guys. Appreciate it. So data reported by the agency from the emergency rooms and the wastewater sampling have literally tracked some of the steepest increases so far this season in the region, spanning Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. And I'm actually going to drop a quick, I'm going to leave a going to put the links to some of the articles where I'm sharing this information from in case you guys want to see for yourselves. I'm going to leave the links for you guys on my Twitter page. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, there's a link to my Twitter page in the description down below this video. But I hate to say it, but things are escalating, guys. And another concern is the cold weather. It's forcing more people to stay inside. But there was actually a concern that over 1 million people in New York, Con Edison customers, facing the potential threat of losing heat in New York. I mean, we saw this during the last storm. I want to say it was around Christmas time in New York, where over 1 million New York Con Edison customers lost heat for months. So hopefully we don't find ourselves in a similar situation in 2023. Let me know if you guys have any friends or family in New York. That's a little bit concerning if you ask me. So anyway, some of these outbreaks can literally lead to to reduce consumer confidence in densely populated urban areas, including expensive cities like New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Miami, Orlando, you name it, right? And this is what we saw previously, driving a lot of people out of the big cities toward the rural areas, the suburbs. And, this clearly affected the housing prices. Everyone was trying to get out, right? And, these kind of circumstances actually kind of make people become a little bit more concerned about living in close quarters with one another, which could ultimately lead to a temporary shift in the housing market. And of course, you can't have this conversation without talking about remote work, right? I mean, like the C-19 pandemic already accelerated the trend of remote work. So if these respiratory illnesses continue to be a concern, more and more people might opt for remote work. And this could ultimately lead to reduced demand for housing in these expensive cities, right? I mean, people might consider moving away from these very densely populated areas to what they perceive to be as potentially safer areas. Now, I shared with you guys a list of materials for preparation. Let me know if you guys are prepared for a relapse should we happen to experience anything like that. In terms of an outbreak, do you have your personal protective equipment just in case that we do face anything like that? Let me know where you guys stand. Are you guys prepared for anything like this? Hopefully you are. Don't wait until the circumstance arises. Be prepared. Get ahead of these things. Hopefully nothing happens. But if it does, make sure you're ready. That's all I'm saying. It's not about being fear. It's not about being fearful or spreading fear. It's about being prepared. Okay. So, now again, expensive areas like New York and Florida, they heavily rely on tourism. Any kind of health related concerns can significantly impact tourism, which in turn can affect the short term rental market, particularly in places that have high demand on Airbnb. And here's another thing to keep in mind: places like New York and Florida, where they heavily rely on tourism. Well, think about it. There's a lot of international tourists coming in as well. So this kind of increases the chances that things spread around more and more quickly. And as these mysterious viruses mutate and evolve, right? How can you really prevent these sorts of things from coming into the country? Now, I understand a lot of people are, they have their feelings about shutting down the borders, closing the borders. But when do you open up the borders? Or do you never open up the borders? Like, what's the long-term solution here? The other thing is who are you really blocking out? Like, you'd literally need like CDC personnel screening everyone coming in, and they'd also have to be aware of every single virus that exists, and if you're looking at using the borders to kind of block a virus from entering the country, I'm going to have to say good luck, because even with the C-19 virus and the testing, look how long those take to get results. They take a long time to get results. So imagine tens of thousands of people coming in and out of our borders on a regular basis. Who could wait hours just to get through when there's tens of thousands of people? I mean, the backlog would be absurd. So I don't really, I don't think that that's necessarily the solution. It's an idea, but I don't think it's the solution. Wow, we've got nearly 300 people in the live here, guys. If you guys could show some love real quick, drop a quick like for the video. It only takes a second. And I know that this isn't the news, the type of news that anyone wants to hear about, but it's about awareness, guys. It's about awareness and being ready and being prepared. Now, if the outbreak leads to increased healthcare costs, uncertainty, or economic downturns, it could easily affect people's financial stability, potentially impacting their ability to afford homes and continue to afford homes. I mean, think about the last situation that we had 4 years ago. Stimulus checks were sent out because people couldn't work. People couldn't leave their houses. They were essentially on lockdown for prolonged periods of time. Businesses were shut down. Stores were shut down. People couldn't earn. So, there were all sorts of stimulus check programs, rental assistance programs. And, it was almost like, the people who were in the best position were people who had the ability to work from home, maybe had an online business. Maybe they had some form of a recurring passive income through their investments. Maybe they were on Social Security, SSI, SSDI. They don't necessarily have to leave the home in order to earn an income. But at the same time, if you looked at, the last 24 months, 36 months, inflation has literally exploded. I mean, look at the cost. Look at the rates of rent increase rates over the past 36 months have literally been record breaking. And if you happen to have been on a fixed income, how do you keep up with those increased expenses, right? If your income doesn't increase, but your expenses are increasing, it's kind of like, watching the water, rise along the sides of your boat, and eventually the water is kind of coming in, and now what, right? So, it's a rather unfortunate situation for a lot of people who happen to be on Social Security, SSI, SSDI. And, that's the state of affairs that we're in. And let's not forget about the central banks, right? Central banks often adjust interest rates in response to economic conditions. Well, a severe outbreak and its economic consequences could very well lead to changes in interest rates, either good or bad. Now, previously, we actually saw the Federal Reserve lower interest rates as a result of the outbreak and the economic uncertainty at the time. But what will happen this time? Does the Fed even have enough firepower in their tool chest to save a dying or suffocating economy if that were in fact needed? That's the real question. Now, there's a lot of condos, and I'm starting to hear this more and more. Condo terminations are spiking. And I don't know if you guys are experiencing this where you live. Maybe you know anybody who's experiencing anything like this. But these condo terminations and these condo buyouts, particularly in Florida, it's starting to take up, and it's a little bit alarming. In fact, these condo terminations involve a process where about 80% of the unit owners are agreeing to sell their units to a developer. The goal is usually to demolish the old building and construct a new one, which could actually be a little bit more profitable. But here's the thing, guys. Condo terminations and buyouts have literally been becoming more and more common in the state of Florida, especially in some of these prime waterfront real estate areas. Developers are looking at these properties as lucrative opportunities for redevelopment. Some people might call it gentrification. We're seeing some of this in the state of New York. There's no more land to build. So some of these developers just want to knock buildings down and start all over. So and let's not forget about these rising HOA fees, right? These condo buildings that have not been maintained. There's condo buildings in New York. I think in New York they call them co-ops, but these condos are all over the United States. These condo buildings that have not been maintained, they have not been maintaining their proper reserves. They may actually struggle to cover the cost of repairs. And, this can lead to a very significant increase in HOA fees, putting a financial strain on condo owners. So this problem could literally continue to expand and become significantly worse than what it is right now. I mean, how many of you guys have an HOA? And if you do have an HOA, just comment down below how much your HOA is costing you every single year. Now, I know a lot of you guys, I've chatted with a lot of you guys on some of the previous lives, and some of you, will never, ever buy a house that has an HOA. And I totally get that. I know some of you guys are very emotional about that particular fee, but there's a lot of homes in the United States where if you want to buy this home, it's probably in a subdivision that has an HOA. And unfortunately, there's more and more subdivisions that have these HOAs, and it's getting to a point where they're almost unavoidable. But yeah, you guys, let me know if you have an HOA in your neighborhood. By the way, I don't know if I told you guys, but I ended up getting a brand new refrigerator recently because my old refrigerator failed on me. Started off with the ice maker not making ice, and ultimately the freezer wasn't as cold as it used to be, and then eventually the refrigerator side stopped being cold and had food that had to be, I had hundreds of dollars worth of food that had to be thrown away. Long story short, the warranty company that I had, they were trying to repair it, but they couldn't fix it. They ended up cutting me a check and telling me to buy a brand new refrigerator. So that's what I ended up doing. So if you guys don't already have a home warranty, even if you've never thought about getting one, I would highly recommend just getting your free quote. I left a link in the description down below for you guys. Also in the pinned comment, it takes like 10 seconds to just get a free quote. And I'll be honest with you, I'm so glad I did, because a new refrigerator is kind of expensive. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm the type of person where I don't buy warranties. I do not buy warranties. But in this case, I had to do it, and I'm really glad I did. My wife said it was a good idea. I trusted her, and that definitely worked out well for us. So anyway, it only takes a second, like 10 seconds. There's a link in the description down below if you guys want to check out that home warranty to get your free quote. So, yeah, these high HOA fees, they're leading a lot of people to kind of like panic sell their they're leading a lot of people to panic sell. And we were actually looking at a condo for sale in Florida. And what's wild about this particular condo that was for sale is that we loved it. It was like walking distance to the beach. It was amazing. And we were going to Airbnb it when we're not there, and actually and stay there during a couple of weeks out the summer or whatever. But anyway, I was working with a real estate agent, and they were telling me that this particular condominium was going to be assessing all of the condominium owners in the building with a $25,000 assessment. Can you believe that? Now, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, what an assessment is basically you have your HOA fee. And in this case, this HOA was unbelievably expensive. You guys probably won't even believe me if I tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The HOA fee was, get this, the HOA fee was $1,200 per month. The HOA fee was $1,200 a month. You still had property taxes to pay. You still had homeowner insurance to pay. You still had, your utilities, cable. Actually, cable was actually included in your HOA fee, so scratch that. But you still had to pay your electricity bill, your gas bill. But guys, it was $1,200 a month. So get this. So this assessment, apparently, they needed to replace a roof on the building and like several other repairs. And apparently the HOA was underfunded. So they were assessing all of the members, or because you're a member if you own a condo in the building, right? So you have your $1,200 per month HOA fee. This is on top of your mortgage payment, mind you, right? So the HOA fee was almost as much as a lot of people's mortgage payments. It was ridiculous. So you had that going against you. Then they slapped everyone with a $25,000 assessment. And I was kind of like, there's no way in the world I would even consider buying this thing with a $25,000 bill coming my way. Like, who would do that, right? I said, even if I was even interested in this, you'd have to right off the bat discount the price by at least $25,000 in order for me to be remotely interested in this thing. But wow. Things are kind of wild. Things are wild, right? So a lot of these condo owners are facing this buyout. A lot of these condo owners are facing buyout offers, and they need to consider their future plans. The market value, the market value of the offers, the emotional ties to their units, and like if you sell, where do you go from there? I was talking to a real estate agent earlier today, and basically we were talking about the state of the economy. We were talking about, all right, are we going to see a recession going into 2024? How much demand are you seeing from a real estate agent perspective in terms of demand for housing? And what he was telling me was rather interesting. He said that there's a remarkable number of people who ordinarily would sell their homes in order to buy another home, meaning like some people are either downsizing or they're upsizing, right? But either way, a lot of the clients that he was working with, or he is working with, they already own a home. And these people, they're saying to themselves, hey, I got this 3% roundabout. Some people have less than 3%. Some people have a little bit more than 3%. But he said he's got a lot of clients that have homes that they refinanced or they purchased at 3% interest rate mortgages, 30-year fixed rate mortgages for around 3%. Well, guess what, guys? He told me that a lot of these people, they would normally have sold their homes, but because the interest rate that they have is so low, they know they're not going to get this low interest rate again. So what are they doing? Well, they want to buy a new house for whatever reason. In fact, a lot of people are actually upgrading their houses, even though housing prices are at, record price levels now, and interest rates are, at 20-year highs. The interesting thing is that people are still buying homes, believe it or not. And I know a lot of people are expecting this massive housing market crash, but in a lot of cities, the housing market crash hasn't happened. And here's another thing. People are actually buying these more expensive homes, and they're subsidizing them by using the home that they normally would have sold. They're using the home that they would have sold as a rental property. And so since their interest rate is so low, and the mortgage payment associated with it is so much less than what the market rate is for rent, they're renting the property out. So I'll give you a great example. He told me about a client who basically they bought the house in 2019, just before the pandemic. Then they refinanced the house in 2020, and they got it down to like 2.8 something, 2.75 or something like that, right? Anyway, today's so their mortgage payment's like $1,500 a month, but today's price and mortgage payment for that same house is now like $3,200 a month. So what they're doing is they're renting this house out. Their current mortgage payment's like $1,500 a month. They're renting it out for $3,000 per month. So they're making $1,500 per month in passive income on this piece of real estate that they used to live in. And so since they had enough money for a down payment without needing to sell their current home, they said, hey, we understand that housing prices are higher, but we're realizing that the housing market inventory is not increasing. We're also realizing that interest rates may possibly go down in 2024, maybe even 2025. But here's the thing. They're saying, hey, we'll just buy this slightly more expensive home at 8%, but they don't care that much. Why? Because they're confident that they're going to be able to refinance somewhere down the line. But the other reason is because they have an extra $1,500 a month from their rental property that they're profiting off of, and it's offsetting the mortgage payment on the new home. And so this is also creating a brand new problem. Well, it's not really a brand new problem. It's exacerbating the existing problem by reducing how many homes are hitting the market, so that the inventory of homes is staying low, because whereby in a normal healthy market, most people would end up selling their home before buying a new one. Well, because interest rates are so high, a lot of people who have these low interest rates are saying, hey, I'm not going to let go of this low interest rate. I'm going to keep this low interest rate, and I'm going to buy this new house as long as the bank will approve them on the second house, and let this plus $1,500 a month, or this positive cash flow of $1,500 a month that they're getting, from the passive income that they're generating off the rental property, it's going to offset the cost of the new house. So, imagine the mortgage payment on the new house is, say, I don't know, $3,000 a month, right? Well, if your new mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, your old mortgage payment was $1,500 a month, but you're renting it out for $3,000 a month. You got $1,500 per month in profit. A lot of these people are literally finding themselves in a situation where they're able to buy a bigger, nicer home and literally pay the same amount as what they were paying in the old home. So if your new home if your new home mortgage payment is $3,000 per month, and you have $1,500 a month in passive income from the previous home you used to live in that you've rented out, well, you're still paying $1,500 a month in a nicer home. So why wouldn't you do this? So it's almost like, wow, I don't see that this housing market improves in the interim. I don't want to say anytime soon, but I just don't. And I feel really bad for anybody who's been sitting on the sideline and hasn't invested in a home, because it's only gotten more expensive. Home prices have gone up. Interest rates have gone up, and rent is going up. Rent continues to go up. And there's no guarantee that it won't keep going up either. What's going on, Cash Ryan? I see you, man. So Deanna Davis says she agrees 200%. Darlene P says, I just moved out of my apartment that wanted to charge me $2,100 for a 2-bedroom apartment. That's a mortgage. It's crazy expensive out here. Hey, Darlene, what state are you in? Because that is pretty high. $2,100 for a 2-bedroom apartment. That almost sounds like, like city area, like the rate or the rent rates I would expect from a city like Charlotte, or something like that. Anyway, so however, he did say that he believes that we're toward the top of the market. By the way, guys, we're nearly 300 people in here. If you haven't already, drop a quick like for the video. Just kind of spreads the message out to YouTube, tells YouTube to share this video out to more viewers. But yeah, we're in a really interesting time here. Very, very interesting time here. And the last thing you want to do is get hit with, expensive, unexpected repairs. So if you haven't already, make sure to get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the pinned comment and in the description down below. It literally takes like 10 seconds to get that. You'll thank me later. So yeah, the situation that we're dealing with is literally just kind of wild, right? I mean, like the impact of this mysterious pneumonia outbreak in the house, and the impact that it could have on our housing market, especially in some of these very expensive areas like New York, Florida, Seattle, Washington, D.C., San Diego, San Francisco. Yeah. So it is essential to consider the potential consequences, right? So if you haven't already, make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you have a backup plan, guys. Jerlene Johnson says, I paid $1,300, got a studio apartment in Michigan. Nice. That's not too bad. I don't know how many bedrooms come in a studio apartment. I want to say it's just one. But yeah, PC Vagabond says, I was planning to move back to Canada back in May, but the prices are crazy in Canada. I'm not in holidays. I'm working every day, but cheap prices equals less stress. Hey, Sometimes it's about less stress over anything else, you know? What's going on, Patrick Lund? I see you, man. Um, but yeah, we're gonna have to see where interest rates go for 2024. Um, Lil Birdie told me that interest rates may drop. Um, Hopefully, if we can get a 50% drop in interest rates, that would be amazing. If we can get down to like 5 or 4%, but maybe that's a pipe dream. What do you guys think? Do interest rates go higher going into 2024, or do interest rates uh, retreat a little bit and go down? What do you guys think? Um, Deanna Davis. Oh, okay. So it is a one bedroom. Got you. One bedroom with a bathroom. Okay. For 13, I think you said $1,300, Deanna Davis. All right, Deanna Davis. Okay, you had a 200% increase. Got you. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna see where we are going into 2024, 2023. But let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. What are you planning? Are you looking to invest in real estate? Are you waiting for a crash before you pick up your deal on real estate? Because here's the thing. If you miss time if you miss time the housing market, if you miss time the real estate market, like you're waiting for a deal and you're just trying to, you know, if you miss time it and the market goes higher, you know, that could be painful. I mean, just imagine you decide, hey, I don't want to pay $450,000 for this house that used to be $300,000, right? And I get it, you know, it's an extra $150,000. But imagine if you waited and you find out like the next year that that house that's $450,000 is now 475, right? Can you imagine how painful that would feel? Like if a housing market didn't crash and the prices went even higher, it's almost like, man, like am I ever going to be able to buy a house? Is the American dream just gone? So anyway, what's going on, Catalia? I see you. So that's where we are, guys. That is where we are. And it's going to be very, very interesting. But I'm going to do my best to keep you guys posted as I always have. If you haven't already, please drop a like for the video. Consider subscribing. Get your free home warranty quote. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe and have a great night.